So I've seen, as we had requested, I've seen some people have joined the meeting with their phone type. Like we have Oppo A3s, and also we have Galaxy Tab S5e. So if we could have you in using your names, because at some point we'll be breaking out to different groups, so would appreciate that. Or in the chat box, you can type your name. If you are using your name is displaying as the type of the phone you are using, you can just type your name on the chat, and then we'll be able to know where to allocate you. Yeah, I see that we already have that chat, so thank you very much.
So good afternoon to the afternoon session. We just want to give a few minutes to those who are joining us. And then we shall start off with a reminder of protocols. So let's just give our colleagues a few more minutes, and then we shall kick off the afternoon session.
Hello. Yes. Just a brief on the protocols, communication protocols. As I had mentioned in the morning, we be putting our comments and questions on the chat box. Also, we should ensure that our videos are off, such that we don't have those the breakouts in terms of network connectivity. Also, just to remind us, for those of us who are logging in using our phone type, please kindly, you can put on the chat box your name such that we can be able to know the people who are present, such that we may have the different stakeholders in the different groups during the breakouts. Thank you. Back to you, Sam.
All right, thank you so much, Michael, for that. And I can see our numbers are increasing slowly but slowly. We are now at 33. Basically, there are a few more who are yet to join, but we believe they'll be joining in a short while. So my name is Sam Mulyanga. For those who we might not have interacted before, but quite a number we have. And maybe just for purposes of seeing the face you're talking to, I'll just briefly go into video mode and switch off from video. I think that will be important for us. Right, so as I've said, I'm Sam Mulyanga. We've met with a number of you before in this work of family planning, and therefore I'm excited to be with you this afternoon and for us to walk together this journey of how we can use the data that we have to inform decisions, to make action plans and actually implement them. I work with Advanced Family Planning Initiative as the project director, and Advanced Family Planning is implemented by JAPIGO in Kenya. So basically that's it for now. I don't want to use most of your bundles. We need to save every bit of that. So we go back to the instructions that Michael has given us, our videos off for now. All right, so I just want us to reflect back on what we had this morning to inform our action planning. And I just want to share my screen. I hope you can all see my screen. Maybe I can ask Michael, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Great. So I just want us, as we get into action planning, and I'll put it on slide mode. As we get into action planning, there are a few documents that are very important to inform this process. And one of the very critical documents is actually the county strategic plan documents. And here we have a number. We have the county integrated development plan, which is a very key document in the county. We have the annual work plan that all of you do yearly. And we're also happy to note that a number of you have been involved in developing the revised family planning costed implementation plan. You had the first plan running from 2014 to 2018. And it was good news for the county to start developing a new county implementation plan for family planning. Then we have the DHIS2 data, which is basically the service statistics that we collect. And we are fortunate Among the many counties in Kenya, Kakamega is one of the fortunate counties to also have PMA surveys. There are counties that don't have that opportunity. They are stuck with the last survey, which was DHS of 2014. So we are indeed fortunate that as a county, as Kakamega County, we have PMA that mimics the DHS and progressively gives us data that can make us know where we are. You know, so these are data points that we really want to make use of. And this is what will basically inform our action planning discussion. Now, as I've said, Kakamega is indeed a progressive county. You have a number of documents that are already developed that can really help in this. And I just want to reflect on the vision for the County Integrated Development Plan. This is a key, this is the main planning document for the county that basically all sectors, health, agriculture, roads, everybody has to speak to this. And it has a vision for health. And the vision is quality health services for all. And the word is all. And there's a word quality there. These are very important things when we're talking about family planning. We basically want to see that everybody who wants can get these services, and the services are quality. So that's quite a nice vision. But for a vision to be realized, there has to be a mission. And when it comes to family planning, it may be important to look at what is the mission with regard to family planning that will help realize that vision. And a number of you who worked on the family planning costed implementation plan, the one that you validated recently, and you're basically doing the final touches on it. You had a very nice mission there. Yes, it's long, but it captures quite a number of things. It talks about that your family planning strategy will be about to promote, protect, and improve the ultimate health of communities through provision of quality, accessible, affordable, and equitable family planning services that are responsive and accountable to the people of Kakamega County. I believe for you to come up with that mission, every word there mattered. And these words that you put there can heavily impact the lives of the people. With regard to the goal of your family planning CIP, you talked about to advance the socio-economic well-being of the people of Kakamega County by achieving a CPR of, you had initially thought about 62, and you are still under discussion to see whether to move that up. And I'm sure in the few weeks to come or so, you'll have reached a consensus on that. And you want that CIP achieved by 2025. Now, at this juncture, I just want us to reflect a little bit. When we look at our 2014-2018 family planning costed plan, or strategic plan as you call it, which was launched by none other than the governor of Kakamega County. I want to believe those of us who have been in Kakamega County working in the Department of Health for a long time, you will remember that there are many documents that are developed, but not all documents are launched by the governor. These, the governor had to personally launch it. And this was important because he's a major advocate of family planning. Remember, he is the one who signed the Kenya commitment at FP 2020. This was a great partnership. And right now it's a partnership of 69 governments across the world, and more so in the developing world, coming together to make commitments on what they want to do in the area of family planning to enable more women access family planning services and information without coercion and without discrimination. By that time, your governor, His Excellency Wycliffe Oparanya, was the Minister of Planning at the national level. And therefore, family planning is so critical to him. In fact, one thing that I'll point out is that when Kakamega County actually did the progress review of its 2014-2018 CIP or costed plan, the results of PMA had actually shown by end of 2018 that you were actually at 74. And Professor Gichangi has just repeated that in the earlier brief. You were at 74. CPR, more than CPR. And what was the goal? What was the goal that you had intended when you were developing that plan? In 2014, the DHS had shown that your MCPR was 60. And you said you wanted, at the end of 2018, to have a CPR of 69. And come 2018, from the results of the household survey done in November, December of 2018, the PMA household survey showed that you were actually at 74. That is impressive. And I remember after that, one of my colleagues, Irene Choge, had an interview with the governor. And when the governor was told about that new development, he was excited and even said, oh, I think we need to get to 80 and maybe now we can stay there. So this was important. How many counties have developed costed implementation plan, but they have not maybe reviewed them? But you reviewed that. And how many counties actually set out a goal on family planning and achieved it and even surpassed it? And I think at this juncture, given that great achievement, I just want you to unmute yourself and clap, clap, clap for yourself. Let's hear those claps. Let's hear those claps from across you, and then we mute again. Great, thank you. You should be very proud of that achievement as a county, that you can go back to your governor and say, we delivered it. And therefore, this is a county that has already shown a lot of willingness to move this agenda. And I felt that was important to underscore the context in which we are having all this. Now, we know that to deliver on health and family planning included, there are also the WHO building blocks. I'll not take much time on this. We are very familiar with this, but they will give us a context in which we shall be discussing some of the findings that we had this morning. Now, your documents, again, have a very nice demand side aspiration. You want to empower communities to decide, a very important thing, to demand and access contraception services. That's on the demand side. Under the supply side, you want to ensure responsive and comprehensive client-centered family planning services available. The words you use in your documents, they're great. When you talk about responsive, when you talk about comprehensive, when you talk about client-centered, what else do you need? Now, there are certain things that you've mentioned in the documents, including increasing percentage of men accessing and using contraception. Those are commitments you've made in your documents as Kakamega County. You talk about conducting awareness on benefits of family planning, sensitizing communities. You talk about reducing teenage pregnancy incidents. And I'm happy that in the morning, I saw we had the county director of education, we had the director of social services. That basically embodies that mass sectorial approach that you really are having as you go ahead. So there were demand side commitments, there were adolescent side commitments, and supply side in general. Now, I just want us to take a few minutes to interrogate that data that we had this morning and pull out a few things, a few observations. One of the notable things is that CPR for married women declined by 7% between 2018 to 2019. So basically, that is something to look at. And if you look at that, there is also something very interesting about what has happened, you know, looking at your rural and the urban. It's interesting that demand satisfied by modern method in 2018, the rural was doing lower, was performing less than the urban. But that has changed with the current survey, that now the rural are performing more than the urban. The same thing with unmet. In 2018, the rural had 17% and the urban was 12%. The 2019 data, I've just asked that we unmute ourselves, please. And the host can also help to, we ask that we mute ourselves. And the host can help us to just mute in case somebody was just forgotten. All right, thank you. Now, what I was saying here is that when it comes to rural versus urban for unmet need, 2018 showed we were 70% unmet need for rural and 12% for urban. But the 2019, the recent survey has put that the other way around. 2019, we have 8% and urban is 13%. And we are seeing that also with the demand satisfied. So there's something in there to think about. And more so, we see issues of equity. How are we making that all women and everybody who needs family planning services, whether urban or rural, they access it? What is informing the decline in married women and CPR? Those are things that we need to interrogate and to reflect on as we get into our action planning. The other thing, very interesting, and this comes in the area of young people and adolescents. 48% of women aged 18 to 24, if we are talking about the youth, maybe by UN standard, is somebody up to 24 years. These young people are saying that by age 18, quite a number had really begun child rearing. Actually, it says 19% had already begun childbearing. That is something. But only 12% had begun using contraception. And 48% already had sex. So basically you're dealing with half of that group by age 18 had already had sex. By age 18, half of the young people had had sex. And 19% had started childbearing. So when you look at that, what happens to the underserved sexually active adolescents? There's a talk of teenage pregnancy all over the country right now. And therefore, this makes us ask questions, this finding, and what should we do about it? That's why we're getting into the action planning session. And we hope some of this data will help us to get to that decision. Now, when you look at your documentation, the CIDP, the annual work plan, you have nice things in there. You have commitments such as health facility counseling and ensure that comprehensive contraceptive counseling is taking place. You also talk about that this lack mentorship for nurses and clinical officers and doctors. It's the skill building. You've made this commitment in this document. Yes, our host can just, if you can mute yourself, please. Good to have you. Just mute yourself, and admin, you can help us to mute just in case. We all forget sometimes. It's normal. Great. So what is the data telling us around some of these things? What we have this morning is that 34% of women were not told about side effects of the method they chose. We are not even talking about the method they didn't choose. The same method they chose, these women left these service delivery points without being told about side effects. And 51% of them did not receive family planning comprehensive information. In fact, about half of them were not told about their method in terms of advantages, disadvantages. Can you imagine you being that woman? That is something to think about. And it is so nice that you noted this in your documents, that we needed to do counseling. We need to do comprehensive counseling. So this is an area that perhaps might even be informing some things about discontinuations. Might be informing even some myth, because some people react in a certain way and they think that's all how all methods are. Something to think about. And also to point out that 21% of facilities who are providing implants did not have the skills or sometimes equipment for inserting or removing. And then 23% of facilities when it comes to IUD. And we have that commitment around skills. So it's something that we need to say, what is this that we need to do to implement that? Then, of course, there are also very nice things when it comes to governance. You're finalizing your CIP, your family planning costed plan, the new one. That's great development. And you plan to disseminate that. That's great. Now, there is something that was mentioned from the findings this morning. When it comes to commodities, and a number of you asked questions, to just see how things are. It was noted that you've done great improvement in terms of stock management. And we need to really appreciate that. This is not an easy area. Commodities, it's not an easy area, but you've registered quite some good improvements between 2016 and 2019. But as you observed this morning, we still have stockouts that were noted. Interestingly, while we know that these commodities are procured centrally from the national level, from KEMSA and all that, and counties order, but then what about those commodities that perhaps they are not available at the central stores level? Maybe there's little one can do when it comes to that. But what about commodities that are available at central stores, but we still have some stockouts? For example, the central stores have not lacked injectables and that kind of a thing. So are there maybe other commodities that are not lacking at the central stores that are available, but then we have some facilities having stockouts? Is it a matter of redistribution that just needs to happen? And all that, what is this? And I think we shall have that conversation within our groups just to see where that happens, because all these things contribute to the outcomes ultimately of our family planning in the county. It's very important. And if we look into this, both the commodity and the program side, sometimes you can say, oh, we've all dropped because maybe of commodity. But remember, we also had a number area of program areas that needed to be fixed also. Are they also contributing to that? So it'll be something for all of us to think through together. Now, having said that, these are just examples of some of the key actions to consider. Eventually, you'll have to decide what you really want to do as a county within the groups, within the breakout groups. But looking at what came out from the data, there are a few things to think about as a county. It might be very important to put in place mechanisms to ensure comprehensive contraceptive counseling, including counseling on side effects. While our documents aspire to have comprehensive counseling, what is this that is making us not to actualize in the way we aspire? What is this that's lacking? What is this that we need to do to enforce that, to make that happen? Because it's the desire of all of us. Yes, there could be challenges, but what is this thing that we can do so that the clients leave the facility, they are counseled across all the methods, and they are basically also counseled on side effects? This is very important as an action. And I think in your groups, if you think that's very important, think through what mechanism do you want to put in place that will ensure we have comprehensive counseling, including side effects. The other action for you to think about is to develop and implement innovative approaches for increasing the skills of health workers, especially on LAC. The findings really pointed on implants and IUDs as an example. What are the innovative approaches? And more also in the context that we are living in. So that we do not have, maybe women are not counseled on another method because maybe the provider feels, I shouldn't go into that area that I might be a bit challenged. What about if the client wants that, you know? Or maybe the facility is not having that commodity. So, you know, that it is something that we need to really think about and see what to do on that. The other action that you can think about is to allocate resources to support multi-sectoral approaches to teen pregnancy, including support to SRH information and services. How grateful it was to hear that when you were revising your current CIP, you actually used your own resources. That is something very, very commendable. You know, and therefore, if we can look at what resources we can allocate in that area so that the health providers, you know, the mass-sectoral approach that pulls together all the sectors in the department can actually have resources to support that. And of course, the other players in the sector can also add from what you have. The other thing, think through as an action is to develop and implement plans to ensure last mile access of family planning commodities. And especially for those that we have. This is a very important thing that the governors, not so long ago, they met to discuss about continuity of essential health services during the COVID-19 pandemic. And they agreed that family planning commodities should not be disrupted. And they did a communication to all counties. And you can imagine who did that communication to all counties is none other than the chairperson of the Council of Governors, who is the governor of Kakamega County. So he also wrote to himself, I believe so, and to all of us. And a very specific item in that memo that he issued to all counties that the commodities should not be disrupted. So we want to utilize that political goodwill by the governors to really, as the department, try to see what we can do in this area, at least what we can do in our space. We know there are also things that could be beyond our space. And talking about COVID-19, which we have really to congratulate Kakamega County again in this area, during the assessment by the joint county and national team on preparedness around COVID-19, your guess is good as mine. Kakamega was among the few counties that had very, very, very good preparatory arrangements around COVID-19. In fact, in anecdotal, one of the assessors who had lived so much in the US compared some of your facilities to some very best facilities somewhere. So it's important. I know world over we are all challenged, but then it just shows there's something good you've done there. But then we know that COVID has brought its own challenges when it comes to essential services, including family planning. And therefore, it might be good to develop and implement media engagement plans to address family planning needs and educate communities on continuity of FP services during COVID-19. We saw from the data, the myths around family planning, the percentage of how people are perceiving, both young people and even the other groups. There were a lot of myths. How can you use the media, especially under the context of COVID, to promote that awareness? And I know Kakamega is already doing something with regard to that. How can we develop and implement countywide on that? And also put in messages on continuity of FP services. People are fearing, they don't know even maybe sometimes these services are offered, and all that. And you've had even your own very innovative approaches, which is also very commendable. The other thing is to issue a directive to all facilities to provide PPFP, especially as part of the COVID-19 response. Through the innovative approaches you've started, even when it comes to hotlines and all that, making mothers to see that they can still get this service. We've seen numbers coming in. Now, these mothers who come to deliver, should they just go back home without being counseled so that those who need a method can actually have a method? That's an opportunity. How sad it will be for these women just to go back home a few months down the line, they have an intended pregnancy under this COVID scenario that has even brought strains on families in terms of livelihood. I think it is something that you can think through. The other thing is to strengthen partnership with the private sector, including pharmacy outlets, to provide family planning in line with the national family planning guidelines. A number of things are happening in the private sector. How can we strengthen that partnership? And the national guidelines, for example, has now expanded what pharmacists can provide in the outlines. They can now provide from pills to injectables. And tomorrow there's even a meeting by the regulatory body, the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, with the MOH and professional bodies to have a training coordination committee for this group so that everything is done in a very standardized and a very nice way. We know there are people, because of COVID, they are getting there to basically be sorted on one thing or another. How can we, in a nice regulatory arrangement, as per the national standards by MOH on family planning, utilize that and expand that space? WHO, thank you. Recently, WHO, in its update on how to respond to SRH services during COVID-19, it has actually brought out these issues, a very strong point that governments can do. With that then, something to ponder. You'll think through all these things in your group, you'll come up with your own actions, but these are just pointers of some of the things that is important to reflect on based on the findings. Now, in our breakout groups that we are going to do our action plan, we have a template that can help you to really develop an action plan based on the findings that we have, so that these data that we have been told today, the findings do not just stay as findings. They inform what Kakamega can do to achieve its mission and also the vision that we saw earlier. And as I said, as a county, we are privileged. We have this. There are counties that don't have. So let's utilize this data to inform decision making. And therefore, in this template, it's important to identify what problem are you tackling or addressing. What issue are you tackling or addressing? Then, what key interventions do you propose? Some of the key interventions could be the actions we've just talked about. There could be others. But what are these that could really make a difference? And what timeline? If possible, let's think of things we can do in under 1 year, if possible, in this action plan. You know, something that we can do so that when we have this, the subsequent survey, we can actually see, okay, we had this action, we did this, maybe this is why we have this trend. So that's very important. Let's have something in the short term, in the near time, something we can do, not something that practically we can't do. We want actionable things that's within our reach as a county. And who is the responsible person? And when it comes to the responsible person, is not necessarily somebody who will do that literally, but is a person who is in this meeting. I encourage you that you use people who are in this meeting, who will make sure that that action is actualized. We'll engage with whoever needs to be engaged, whoever needs to be mobilized, whoever is the duty bearer on this to make sure that that's done. So if we can do that, and then because of time and all that, let's not think of so many actions. For each group, at most, if you've said so many, let it be at most 3 actions per group, if it's at most. But let's not have 0 action. I know we won't have that, of course. We are all passionate, we want to do this. So basically, let our action range from 1 to 3. So if we can do that, and then we have 5 breakout groups based on these findings. Issues of counseling, issues of myths and misconceptions have stood out big time in these findings. And we would like group 1 to look into that. What are the key actions do we need to do? Practical within less than a year that we want to run with around that. Group 2 breakout will be looking on adolescents, youth, sexual reproductive health, and the whole teenage pregnancy issue. Group 3 will be focusing on issues of skills. We've just heard from the findings this morning, things that needs to be done around there. And there are also a few things bordering on equipment. What is this that we can do based on the findings that we've had this morning? And then group 4, commodities. We saw what the data was saying. What actions can we practically do? And finally, group 5. We don't want to lose sight of the times we are living. We are living within the COVID time. What are some of the family planning interventions we can do as part of the COVID-19 response? If we deliver on this, and then do this in, just want to check on the time in terms of how many minutes we can do this. All right, so we are looking at doing all this and reporting back. So we are basically supposed to have to report back by 3:10, but we shall slightly extend that. If we can report back at 20 past 3, we have reporting back 20 past 3 by the groups. That will be great. So please, we have our colleagues who have already assigned in your groups. I know some groups maybe might not feel very comfortable, but if there is quite a problem, you can always raise it out with a co-host. We have Joseph and the team working behind the scenes. Reach out to them, and they will basically sort out, because this is our action plan for all of us. So you will, as Waidaka and Joseph had mentioned earlier, you will get a prompting on your screen to join a breakout group. Please click on it and let's meet in those breakout groups and come back at 3:20. Already an action plan, soft copy template has been sent to you by email. Thank you so much, and over to you, Joseph, for the breakout time.
Thank you very much, Sam, thank you very much, Sam, for that time. You have really taken us through a very exciting presentation on what this great county of Kakamega has been able to do and commit to. You have also been very clear in terms of what the data is saying, and we are also very happy that in our morning session we were able to hear feedback from the county that this data is really a representation of what they see at the county. And for those reasons, we are really very hopeful that this engagement and group time is going to be very, very engaging. So I think it's time to go into the groups. We have assigned quite a number of us to several groups. So you will receive a prompt to join a group, a breakout group. So when you see so, please say you'll join that group. Some people have not, we have not been able to find them based on the names we have. So if that happens, one of our IT person here will be able to give you a group immediately. So I think now we can transition to the groups, and as Sam has said, please try to keep time, and we'll be coming back at 20 minutes past 3. So we can now break out to our different groups. Thank you very much, and see you later.
Sasa, how do I join? Oh my God.
my phone.
I'm not getting the audio. Sipati chochote mimi.
Tutaangalianga tu. Nifanye namna gani? Wana unmute aje? Nakuleta simu nakuanga na yeye. Ametafuta.
Sasa nimeficha mahali.
Wewe juu ulikuwa unatafuta wapi? Akinisaidia kutafuta na nini? Sauti hapa. Niko kwa mkutano. Na sauti imeenda.
Kama umemute.
Hii nimemute. Hii nimemute kweli.
Linda, haujamute, tunakusikia. Linda? Umemute sasa.
Nisaidie nipate sauti hapa. Nataka kuniambia ni mute. Na si nimemute. Na sauti ndio sipati. Nimemute. Sauti ndio nimeshindwa nipate.
Haujamute Linda, tunakusikia. Unaona hapo kwa participants? Hello, Linda. Linda. Amemute sasa.
Unmute.
I want there's no one speaking.
Huku pia kuna.
Yeah, I think people are not ready. It's awkward to carry a laptop.
So just load the phones.
Once. Thank you.
Welcome.
Vito hutataka kusikiza hii nyingine? Niko kwa safe driving mode. Sasa hii safe driving mode nitasikiza?
I think hiyo imekuja automatic cause ilikuwa kwa barabara.
Yeah, if I'm just wondering, I just like, you know, forgive me if I've already spoken about it. Maybe just a question to add, just like you sort of like have
Hello, team, and welcome back to this command session. I see some is here. Some, I think now we are back to you.
Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure there's no group that's still within the breakout. You know, when you're having a physical meeting, you can see them hanging out there doing something. But now here, we have to use technology to make sure that everybody is back. So basically, thanks for the discussions in the group. And therefore, we want to take the next few minutes just to hear from the groups. And what will happen is that the template where you've organized your presentation or your thoughts within the group, it will be great for you to email it to Joseph. You can use the same email that you received the agenda to basically mail back so that we have your presentations, you know, and you can do that as we go ahead. Just make sure we have that. Then we will start with presentations, and instead of walking us through everything, in just briefly looking at what is the problem and what's the intervention. If you can tell us those two things, problem and intervention. I know you have the timeline and you have the person responsible. Perhaps you can leave that, but just look at what's the problem and the intervention. Those two will be great. And we can talk through this backwards, starting with group 5, then we shall end with group 1. So the presenter for group 5, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sam. Members of group 5 are here. I know they have agreed to will present. I'm only coming in because they asked me to share the screen. So I'm just sharing the screen for group 5 and then they'll present. Beatrice, you are here, you can hear us, you can present for us.
Who is the presenter for group 5, please?
Hello. May I present for group 5? It seems which is not is challenged.
Yes, please.
You can go ahead. I remember your group work, you had a backup. So just go ahead.
An issue or a problem which is service utilization and access that has actually affected service delivery, so that it has reduced number of plants coming to our facilities, otherwise fearing for conducting COVID-19. That was the major the problem identified by the group, and they came up out with the 5 interventions to address service utilization and access. One of them being outreaches, so as to bring services closer to the people through integrated outreaches. That is targeting family services to bring services closer to the people, and targeted outreaches per sub-county. I saw that in the group we were targeting five outreaches. So that is as we targeted that, we were saying that by end of Q1, that is July, August, September, we would be able to accomplish those 5 outreaches. And that one will be coordinated by the sub-county RH coordinator. That is the task given to her by the group. Then number 2 is to develop and implement a media engagement plan. This is where the local radios are engaged to carry out campaigns for community sensitization through the media. And also to say, inform that the radio is reaching out 83% of Kakamega community. The local FM, that is the local FM, to be able to be utilized to transmit the information to the community that our services are still on in our facilities. We want to accomplish this task by the 1st August 2020, and we task that responsibility to the county health promotion officer. The 3rd point is integrating ANC and postpartum FP and other facility services. That is to ensure that we have commodity and skill availability for all those services. Then share the benefit of luck on no need to return the facility. That is, the client should not be able to return or to have a short time return to the facility. It should have all these services within one shop. So we are intending to accomplish this by 31st August this year, and we are tasking the sub-county RHC as the lead person. The other point, the 4th point, is we are requesting, or we want the opinion that we have a directive developed on PDFP, directing all facilities that mothers coming for services should actually receive postpartum family planning services within, as a directive, such that we don't leave any opportunity for missing this important service. Then we'll be able to put our mothers on planning. We intend to do this by the 1st August 2020, and this we are tasking that the director develops this and circulates, and it is effected immediately. That is by that 1st August. Lastly, dissemination and implementation of FP and community-based distribution guidelines. This is by 30th November 2020, and the same task is given to the director. That is Malakwen presenting for our challenge team member. Otherwise, I say welcome.
Thank you so much, Group 5, for that. And as I've said, please feel free to email your presentation. That would be great. Then we can, I know there are a number of responses. If there are any responses you want to have, you can just do on the chat for that presentation. And then we move to Group 4. And Group 5, you can kindly just present the problem and the intervention. You can leave the rest of the details because of time.
My name is Dr. Amunga Jairus. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm going to present for group 4. Our focus area was on commodities. So our first problem was frequent stockouts of FP commodities. Our intervention were focusing on quantification of FP commodities within the county. So you can know the exact number that you need and the exact number that we are using. The other thing was allocation of a budget for FP commodities, because currently the commodities usually didn't have a budget because they are given freely from our sponsors and NGOs. The other problem was prolonged lead time after ordering. So it was upon the county pharmacists to facilitate orders and also follow up on orders placed so that they can be delivered on time to the service, to the point of service. The other problem was overdependence on push system. And the intervention was to embrace the pull system, whereby the facilities or the area where it is being used are the ones who order for the commodities. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you, Jairus.
Yeah, the third one was unequal distribution of FP commodities, and the interventions were redistribution of FP within the inter-sub county redistribution, where the commodities are less than the other, which will be done through the monitoring of the dashboard, and the monitoring of the dashboard should be done frequently. And also, lastly, the stock status review. Yeah, those are that is what I had for you for the presentation. Thank you.
Great, Jairus, for that, I think, and for the group 4 for really going into very specifics.
Yeah.
When it comes to the issues of commodities, a very important aspect indeed. So again, if you have any question or any concern or any query, please do it on the chat. And we now want to invite group 3. Okay, group 3, we can see your presentation.
So thank you, Michael, for projecting our discussion. So for group 3, we were focusing on skills and equipment, and we came up with our 3 top interventions. Now, the first problem under skills is that we are noting quite a high turnover of staff, either in terms of transfers to other facilities or hiring of new staff. So for that, the key intervention here, because we already have an inventory of the lack mentors, we suggested that we have sub-counties carrying out quarterly skills mentorship for the staff. Then the second one was on still under the high turnover of staff. Mentorship is for people with at least some skills, but for those that are coming into the service, the new hires, we suggested that they have trainings, either at facility levels or at sub-county levels, trainings, and these ones we suggested biannual because of the need of resources. Then on equipment, the problem that was coming up on issues of equipment is surrounding maintenance and servicing of those equipment. So our intervention under that, we suggested that we have quarterly mentorship on equipment processing, because we realized from facility in charges that the problem with equipment was because of the issues of cleaning and disinfection wrongly by whoever is given that task. Then the issue of under equipment also, we realized there's either inadequate metal speculums at facilities, or the ones that are there are not working. So there was a suggestion to the county team that we consider purchase of we replace our metallic speculums by the plastic speculums, and I think the county RH agreed that that is something that can be factored into the budget. Thank you. That's group 3.
Wow, thank you for that. And I like the specificity even at the very end. And I think what we need to say is how we basically get to communicate this to our colleagues on the ground for them to really implement this. So thank you so much, that group. And now we move to the next group. That's group 2.
Yeah, thank you. I'll make a presentation for group 2. Although ours is not typed and presented like the others, I'll just give a summary, then do the typing and send on email. So basically, we were looking at the issue of the teenagers, the adolescents, and the youth. And we noted that there was a discrepancy in the usage of contraceptives as compared to other women of an older age. The percentage of the adolescents was slightly low. One of the problems we noted is the lack of a policy to guide the issue of adolescents and sex education. The way out or the intervention is that there is need to develop a county-specific adolescent sex education policy to guide on issues of sexuality among adolescents, which should be disseminated to all. This should be done within 1 year, and the lead person should be the Ministry of Health plus the other stakeholders. Yeah, the Minister of Health, that is Kakamega County government, and the other stakeholders. Secondly, we noted another challenge or problem in terms of parental involvement or engagement in their adolescents' health or sexual issues. So there is need to engage parents through parental engagement forums to help sensitize the parents on sexuality or sex and adolescence and pregnancy so that they're able to handle their children and enlighten them. These parental engagement forums were to be coordinated or led by the Minister of Health, Minister of Education, Interior, and faith-based organizations. This will be started immediately and should be a continuous thing. Number 3, there is the issue of stakeholders forums for engagement to discuss adolescent issues in terms of sex, pregnancy, so that the stakeholders can discuss, understand the issues, and also share with the rest of the society so that the adolescents can be assisted. This should be led by the Minister of Health, county government, and other stakeholders. Another area that poses a problem is health services not being responsive to the needs of the adolescents. This is a problem that needed to be addressed. And the solution is that there is need to develop youth-friendly facilities that can allow the youth to walk in confidently and comfortably and get assisted. This can be done through employment of young medical staff who understand the youth issues. Also, another area that was noted is lack of communication to the youth. They seem not to have information, the adolescents. So there is need to disseminate information to adolescents through the social media. As we are all aware, there are so much in social media. The language of information should be packaged in the youth friendly language so that they get to understand it better. And this should be led by the Ministry of Health, Kakamega County. Then there is also the issue of still lack of information on health issues among the adolescents. There is need to revamp the school health programs so that the youth can be taught more. This should be done by the Ministry of Health at the county government in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and other stakeholders. Lastly, also the lack of information and understanding. There is need for counseling to be intensified among the adolescents, and also to try and ensure that they are comfortable to share with what they have and understand themselves better. So that is what we had, but we shall do the typing and send on email. Thank you.
Thank you, Group 2, for that. And I can see there are comments coming in the chat. Please, let's continue putting those comments there. And now let's finally listen to Group 1.
Okay, good afternoon. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes. Okay, thank you. This is for Group 1. And Group 1, we're talking about counseling myth and misconception. And sorry, also, we were not able to have it in PowerPoint projection, but I have some talking points which I will share with us. So the first issue was about several myths surrounding services affecting the adolescent, and we were able to list several myths, like for example, the myth which is alluding to teenagers who take family planning being promiscuous, the issue of teenagers taking contraceptive being barren later in life, the myth surrounding surgical contraceptive and the men who takes that method being unable to perform the manly duties. So plus many other myths. So we looked at it as something that is affecting access and utilization of family planning services. So the proposed key intervention to address most of these myths was for us to have a C4C training. This is counseling for continuation training that talks about various aspects of counseling, the issue of side effects, and we were not able to give the time frame. Maybe we can deliberate that based on the availability of funds. And we thought that the very best person we can give this responsibility was on JPIGO side, because I think they are among the people who developed that package for C4C. And if Dr. Mulyanga could be happy to take that lead, we'll be happy. The next point issue was related to HR, that is human resource, not being adequate to provide family planning service. And especially in this era of COVID, most people now focusing on COVID at the expense of other preventive services. So our key intervention is we are proposing to intensify on-site mentorship on family planning, and the time frame, I think it is supposed to be quarterly or depending with the availability of fund in various sub-counties, but the responsible person becomes the respective sub-county reproductive health coordinator in liaison with the county reproductive health coordinator. The third issue we had was related to religious beliefs or religious interference in terms of access and utilization of contraceptive services. And the key intervention we thought would be to sensitize these religious leaders within our catchment areas, and also use, after sensitization, use these religious leaders as champions to promote contraceptive services. The time frame, we are giving the end of the quarter, that is the next quarter. And the responsible person, in this case, it's unfortunate persons are not in this forum, but we thought that the health promotion officers could be very handy in terms of communication with them, the health promotion officers, but we stand guided about that. Then the last part or issue was about unfriendly service provision. And this was targeting both the healthcare workers and service delivery points that are not friendly to the adolescent and the youth, and generally other people coming in to seek this service. So what do we need to do as key intervention? We need to emphasize and introduce comprehensive youth-friendly services to all service delivery points. And then this means that we need to make sure that we have provided the materials, SOPs that can facilitate provision of youth-friendly services. And the responsible person for this, we are giving it the County Reproductive Health Coordinator in liaison with the partner, the JPIGO, who can be able to provide for us IEC material and other SOPs. Thank you. That's what we had for Group 1, but any other addition is welcome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Group 1, and thank you, everybody. I know we are now past time, and we don't want to get so much into your time right now. Before I invite Amelda, who will take us from here up to closure by Dr. Misiani, I just want to point out that on our chat, we have some comments there, like for the group that presented about outreaches. There's a reminder there that according to the COVID-19 RMNSH, outreaches are not allowed to be carried out because of the COVID scenario. Perhaps you might want to look into that comment and say, really, if you're looking at this time, how did you intend to do that? So please have an opportunity to look at that, and if any adjustments given that highlight, please do so. Then there is also an observation that for the group on commodities, an encouragement to continue with weekly stock analysis of FP commodities. That is from Esther, and the other comment for the outreaches came from Linda. So looking at that, I think this essay is encouraging us to see if we can do weekly, so that group can look into that. And then there's also a suggestion we should embrace community distributors and self-administration. Self-administration, something that the National Family Planning Guidelines has actually allowed, and the Pharmacy and Poisons Board has also registered some of that for self-injection. So there are those things for us to consider. You still have an opportunity to amend one or a few things. But for now, based on time, I just want to thank everybody. It has been great. I was jumping in from one group to another and all that. And it's great to see that the data that was presented in the morning, at least we've just not listened to it and decided to leave it at that. We've put it into actions. And the fact that we've committed even responsible persons, then I would like, as Amelda and Dr. Misiani comes to wrap up this, how you'll want to make sure that the action plans that you've come up with will actually be delivered. Thank you so much. And I now want to call upon Amelda, please, to take us from here.
Thank you, Mr. Mulianga. I want also to appreciate the team members for those good inputs. I know it's very informative. It's going to assist us. And for now, before we close, we have seen the action plan from the county health office. Those action plans, we'll have them and we will do a follow-up to see, because we have been with them in the groups and we know what we will do, and how we'll follow up to ensure that it has been done. And from there, I want to welcome our director so that he can be able to close for us, unless if we have any other input before we close. Our partners, if there isn't, let me welcome our director.
Thank you very much, Amelda, for this opportunity again. I think I want to thank everyone for participating in the day's activities. It's been a busy day. Apologies have been in and out, COVID issues, and also we're having a transition. We have a new county executive committee member. But I've been able to come back in the afternoon. I've gotten to hear most of the action plans, and I'm thinking with what has been presented today, the content was it was a heavy content in terms of us being able to process as a county. It would be imperative for us, even after this meeting, now we have our own in-house meeting now, the RH coordinators, the facility in charges, the MOHs, and the partners. We look at the action plans to find out whether or not they are really addressing the issues that have been brought out. And I think for us, we have a very rich source of information as to what the issues are in Kakamega, and that we need now to sit after this meeting. It would be important for us to sit, look at the action plans, and even before looking at the action plans, just to go again, what are the key areas that we were able to be picked, and for us, how are we able to doubt the way forward from those many areas that have come up. So for me, again, would be to really thank the partnerships that we've had with the entire PMA fraternity, JPA, I think, plus the other partners we have on board, the USAID supported partners and the rest. Thank you very much. We really must put a concerted effort in matters of family planning, particularly now matters youth. I think we've all seen between 15 to 24 years, the issues that have come up are many issues, the perceptions and the myths. It means there's a lot of work that needs to be done for us to debunk and demystify some of these things. The rural population, a number of issues that have been brought up. The urban population also, some critical areas, male involvement, the issue of social and behavioral change, and the COVID backdrop that we're having right now, the issue of this, what do you call them, the private service providers. We have to engage now, and the many other issues, the various stakeholders that we need to bring on board for us to ensure that we are able to achieve. And overall, I think also the deep, there are many indicators that we realized as Kakamega County, there has been a dip. I think it's something that we have to put our heads together try to find out reasons why things are going on, so that next year again, we are not addressing the same issue. Otherwise, thank you very much to all the facilitators. Thank you to the sub-county MOHs, to the partners we've had on board. We will be scheduling a meeting very soon for us now to look at the action plans proper, whether really they are addressing the many issues that have come up, and really as a way forward, how do we sustain the gains and the positive momentum that we've had, and how do we address the issues that need other stakeholders that probably are not at the county level. I think those are the issues. The issue of commodities, how do we ensure we sustain where we have come from, the good things that we've been able to pick, the commodity technical working groups, the integration bit that we are doing right now with the various USAID supported partners. How do we ensure that such interventions, then we are able to have the other partners who are not USAID supported on board? The various good things that we've tried and we've seen that they are working in several sub-counties or a group of facilities, how do we then move things to ensure we can do them now at a larger scale? And really sustainability and overall the journey to self-reliance. How do you ensure that USAID support, once it has been removed, we are able to sustain that with the budget of our counties? Because clearly there are some things that may not necessarily require a lot of budgetary inputs. There's a lot of changing the mindsets of the population, ensuring that we engage the various stakeholders, the MCAs, the community-based organizations, and the others, the faith-based organizations, the youth themselves. How do we reach to them? Because we know that they don't really visit facilities to seek for advice, get to where they are, because that has been one of the issues that has come up. Social media platforms, the various youth, they're called youth-friendly centers, and all those nice things that we have. And how do we take stock of what we have in terms of partnerships? There are many partners who are doing one thing or the other that sometimes you don't really utilize maximally. So all those and more, with the support of the partners that we have, I think we should be able to move this discussion to the next point. And now that we have new leadership, I think it would be important for us to package all this so that even as he comes in, then we are able to give a feedback and have a way forward looking at the journey to self-reliance and sustainability. So from me and the county team, the executive team, we are saying thank you very much for the time you've taken to be here today for us to discuss on this most important agenda for Kakamega County, and how then we can move the various indicators forward, and how we can sustain the gains that we've had and really take this agenda forward. So thank you very much, and God bless you. Back to you.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you very much. This is Joseph from PMA, ICRH. I think I don't have anything to say, just to say thank you. And I think when Professor Gishangi was starting this meeting, he started it off with requesting for a word of prayer. So I think it will be good to close the meeting with a word of prayer as well. So I think we'll have a word of prayer, and then we exit the meeting from anyone in this group.
I pray. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for the good time we have had together from the time we started this meeting until we are at the end. Want to praise you and glorify you even for the PMA, for the research they have did. They have opened our eyes, Heavenly Father. Want to thank you for the county management for their cooperation, and this far they know what is making us lag behind. We believe you are going to give them the wisdom to make us live up to the work plans that you have made. And may we depart from the meeting, but may we hold what we have heard from it at heart. In Jesus' name I believe and pray. Amen.
Thank you.
Amen, and bye everyone.
Bye.
We shall continue interacting more and more.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.